If people want to use an event like this to say whatever belief system the individual had who carried it out should have their belief system condemned, and it should represent that belief system and everyone who has that belief system, then don't only apply that when you think it's a Muslim, but have that same energy when it turns out they're an atheist ex-Muslim. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. So there was a tragedy that occurred last night in Germany. As we see here, NBC News published an article, car plows into Christmas market in Germany, killing at least 5 and injuring 200. So this was an awful event. If we keep reading, it says, police have arrested a suspect identified as a doctor from Saudi Arabia who lives in Germany. Now, when you combine the nature of this crime with the arrested suspect being from Saudi Arabia, people across the internet started using this as an example of why Muslims are bad, Muslims need to get out of the West. And many people rushed to social media to express this distaste that they have for Muslims. However, if we keep reading this article, it goes on to say, police have not cited a motive, but a minister confirmed that the suspect was clearly Islamophobic? But wait a second, you're saying that this suspect didn't like Islam? But other people who don't like Islam are using him as an example as to why Islam and Muslims are bad. The Wall Street Journal published an article. Suspect in German Christmas market ramming had one main enemy. Islam? Wait a second, so these articles are saying that this person, that many were quick to use as an example as to why Islam is bad, he himself was against Islam? He himself wasn't a Muslim? The 50-year-old psychiatrist is a well-known anti-Islam activist who seems to have felt increasingly persecuted by Germany. Reuters published an article saying German authorities are investigating a Saudi man with a history of anti-Islam rhetoric. Now, I know what you all are thinking, but what did Elon Musk say about it? Elon Musk, the man with 208.4 million followers on his platform X. Elon Musk says the atheist angle was a scam to avoid extradition. How convenient to just ignore all of that evidence, everything pointing to him not liking Islam, being an ex-Muslim. Elon Musk is going to ignore all of that and use this huge platform of his to push the idea that no, this guy, he couldn't have been an atheist ex-Muslim. No, we're going to stick to that original assumption that this is a terrorist attack carried out by a Muslim. And we're going to assume, even though all of the evidence points to the fact he was not a Muslim, he was an ex-Muslim, he was outspokenly Islamophobic. No, it was all a show. You know what? I think Elon Musk should be consistent and just assume all criminals are secretly Muslims. I don't know, maybe he already believes that. Maybe he believes anybody who ever commits any sort of crime or does anything bad, that it's because they're Muslims deep down somehow. Well, let's follow this thread and see if Elon Musk has any evidence for what he's claiming. I mean, you would assume that somebody would have some really strong evidence to make such an outrageous claim. Read this thread. The Magdeburg attacker was a fugitive from Saudi Arabia who was wanted for rape, who reinvented himself as an atheist activist in order to secure full asylum from Germany. Oh, interesting. So Muslim country Saudi Arabia wanted this individual for crimes that are against Islam. Let's go through this thread. In early 2006, Talib Abdul Muhsin flees Saudi Arabia after being accused of rape and implicated in serious crimes. Well, that doesn't describe a Muslim. Saudi Arabia formally requests his extradition, but Germany denies the request, citing human rights concerns despite clear evidence of his criminal activities. After arriving in Germany, Abdul Muhsin reinvents himself as a dissident, publicly declaring himself an atheist and ex-Muslim. So far it's saying that there was somebody who comes from a Muslim country. They were breaking the laws of Islam, committing crimes. The country wanted him arrested, but in order to escape, he fled to Germany and publicly declared himself an atheist and an ex-Muslim. But wait a second, that completely goes against the agenda of portraying him as some sort of Muslim terrorist. Oh, but wait a second, maybe we can get around that. The tweet continues, this move appeared strategic, likely aimed at securing full asylum protection in Germany by portraying himself as a victim of persecution rather than a fugitive from justice. Ah, yeah, maybe he's really this deeply religious, devout Muslim. Yeah, no, we can figure this out. Wait a second. He's committing crimes in a Muslim country. Horrible crimes that are against Islam, allegedly. So he flees to a non-Muslim country. But he lives as an openly ex-Muslim atheist for almost 20 years. But wait a second. It's all a lie. He's secretly an extremely devout Muslim, and all of this is just a show. So that after years and years and years and years, he can pull off this crime. Well, what did this undercover devout Muslim do all those other years that he was in Germany? Well, he begins working in a government hospital in Germany as a psychiatrist. Shockingly, while holding this position, he is publicly active in criminal activities, including human trafficking, smuggling young girls, encouraging girls and minors from Saudi Arabia and Gulf countries to flee to Germany. I don't know, those actions actually don't sound like a devout Muslim at all. It sounds like an ex-Muslim atheist who wants to spread these ideas. These activities raise serious concerns about the involvement of certain human rights organizations which may have facilitated or turned a blind eye to these crimes. This angle requires urgent investigation. In 2023 to 2024, Abdul Muhsin makes explicit threats against Germany, which authorities dismiss as freedom of expression. He was active on social media, repeatedly tweeting and posting voice recordings where he made explicit threats against Germany. He openly considered the German government his enemy, claiming that Germany was conspiring against him and against all Saudi asylum seekers. These posts were publicly accessible and alarming, yet German authorities failed to respond or investigate further. These paranoid claims and repeat threats were clear indicators of a dangerous mindset, yet they were ignored by authorities. Well, you know what authorities didn't ignore it? The authorities in Saudi Arabia. They tried to arrest him, but you know who stopped them from arresting him? Germany. All of this was despite being warned by many ex-users who tagged the German police in case they were not doing their job. In 2023, a Saudi girl reported Abdul Muhsin's terror threats to the German police via their official X account and through their official email. She sent multiple messages warning that Abdul Muhsin repeatedly and publicly threatened to run over Germans and kill them through his social media accounts. Well, you know what's interesting? Apparently he was telling the truth about that, unfortunately. This was apparently something that he said he was going to do, and it turned out to be true, allegedly. You know what else we can assume that he's telling the truth about? Being an atheist ex-Muslim. Despite these clear and repeated warnings, the Berlin police and German authorities ignored her messages and failed to act. This negligence directly contributed to the tragedy that followed. On December 20th, Abdul Muhsin carries out a terror attack at the Magdeburg Christmas market as he previously and publicly promised, resulting in at least 2 fatalities, including a child. It's absolutely awful. 60 to 80 injured, with 15 critically injured as reported so far. He got arrested. You know, it's as if Saudi Arabia knew that this was a criminal and wanted to protect people from him, but Germany just decided against it. You even had a Saudi girl who reported him, amongst many other people who seemed to have reported this individual as dangerous, but action was still not taken. German media's coverage of this tragedy has been shallow and misleading. Most headlines simply refer to him as a Saudi citizen, completely ignoring his criminal past, threats, and motives. No mention of him as a Saudi fugitive, dissident, anti-Islam, criminal, etc. It was perhaps to cover up for authorities' astonishing failure. They didn't even call him a terrorist. Well, you know who did call him a terrorist, but also didn't mention that he was a Saudi fugitive, dissident, anti-Islam criminal? Fox News, of course, who has a long history of demonizing Muslims. 5 dead, many injured after man drives into German Christmas market in suspected terror attack. Officials say suspect is 50-year-old doctor who came to Germany in 2006 from Saudi Arabia. What do you think all of the Fox News listeners are going to assume about this situation? No context was provided about his background or the ignored warnings. The focus on his original nationality rather than his criminal past history and explicit threats is a disservice to public understanding. Well, not when you want them to understand that this is Islam and these are Muslims and this is what they do. Even when Saudi Arabia wants them arrested and says that they're criminals. Even when they themselves say that they're atheist ex-Muslims. No, we have people like Elon Musk who are like, oh no, this is all a show. Implying that no, deep down he really is a Muslim. This is what Muslims do. But wait a second, why was an extradition request by Saudi Arabia denied by Germany despite clear risks? Why were public threats of violence ignored? Why did the media fail to inform the public about his background, motives, and manipulative asylum strategy? Why was he allowed to work in a government hospital despite his criminal record? Why were warnings from concerned individuals ignored? But you know, the weird thing about this whole thread is that you would think that all of this obviously shows that this has nothing to do with Islam. This doesn't have to do with a Muslim. This apparently has to do with a criminal, atheist ex-Muslim who Saudi Arabia wanted to arrest, who countless other people warned police about, but they didn't do anything. This thread ends with him saying, don't be surprised it's happened over and over again and may never stop until the West wakes up and takes the decisive actions to put an end to terrorism. So I don't know exactly what that is supposed to imply. Apparently the guy was clearly a criminal. The guy even said what he was going to do. It sounds like you should just do your common sense job when it comes to criminals. This tragedy is a stark reminder of the cost of prioritizing naive human rights slogans over public safety and failing to hold dangerous individuals accountable. Yeah, so I guess if somebody comes out and they say that they are an ex-Muslim atheist, you don't just assume that everything about them is great. By the way, why would somebody even have to do that? to try to get asylum. You can't be a Muslim and get asylum? If he said that, no, I'm actually a devout practicing Muslim, which I don't know, it seems like Elon Musk is trying to imply that he actually was, based on absolutely nothing he's ever seemingly done in his entire life except this one horrible attack from last night. A necessary shift. Enhance international security cooperation. Stricter oversight of asylum seekers with criminal histories. Investigation into questionable human rights organizations enabling such individuals. Immediate action on clear and direct threats. Transparent and responsible media reporting. The victims deserve better. This incident should serve as a wake-up call for European authorities and media. Share this thread and demand accountability and change. Yeah, I don't know. Was this person given such special treatment because they were an atheist ex-Muslim? Yeah, you shouldn't give atheist ex-Muslims special treatment, especially when, like Saudi Arabia, for example, is saying this is a criminal. When you have other people reporting him as a criminal. When he allegedly was publicly active in criminal activities. What is this ex-Muslim atheist privilege that we're seeing? Is that what this is? Is that the conversation we should be having? We need to end ex-Muslim atheist privilege. And people like Elon Musk shouldn't assume that every time an ex-Muslim atheist does something horrific, that they weren't really an atheist. No, perhaps they were actually a secret, devout Muslim. And this is the garbage he's spreading to millions and millions and millions and millions of people. These sorts of things are awful if anyone does it. Hypothetically speaking, if a Muslim did do it, it would still be awful and it would also be against Islam. But let's not be so hypocritical. If people want to use an event like this to say whatever belief system the individual had who carried it out should have their belief system condemned, and it should represent that belief system and everyone who has that belief system, then don't only apply that when you think it's a Muslim, but have that same energy when it turns out they're an atheist ex-Muslim. At least be consistent. Allah knows best. Thank you for watching. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.